Okay, so we're going to be producing this exercise you can see here in AutoCAD, and you can see the instructions there, which I'm going to be following. And so I've got AutoCAD open, and we're going to begin, as it says in the notes, with the template that's listed there. And you get to the templates by clicking on the little drop down there under Start Drawing, and then you can see all the templates that are available. So these are the starting settings for your files. And, well, I'll just put it out, there are two main options. Some people use AutoCAD. That works for metric and imperial. You can see there it does say feet and inches. It is more set up for imperial. So the better option is AutoCAD ISO. So that's probably the one you should use 90% of the time. So ISO is International Standards Organisation. Generally, if you see ISO in a file name or something like that, you can be pretty sure it's set up for metric. But you can see there it does say in the description it's a normal international, in brackets, metric drawing template. So that's what we're looking for. Of course, being an American program, they do have a lot of it set up for feet and inches, and we want to avoid any of those settings and always try and work with metric. Okay, so I've just maximised the program. I know it's a little thing, but it's useful. And we've got our basic drawing space. So before I start drawing anything, I'm just going to zoom using the wheel on my mouse. So rolling the wheel back and forwards, you can see there that little origin location, the XY coordinate marker moves. I'm rolling the wheel to zoom, which I'm sure most of you will be pretty familiar with in most programs that works. But then do you know how to pan? Maybe?
Hold it down?
Yeah, exactly, hold the wheel down. And that's...
Like SketchUp as well?
Yeah, a lot of SketchUp, it's orbits, but then you use, I think it's Control to make it pan, or Shift, is it? Yeah, Shift to pan. Whereas in AutoCAD, holding the wheel down on its own pans, and then you use an Option key. I always forget, Alt and Shift and Control. In AutoCAD, it's Shift. Yeah, Shift to orbit. But yeah, hold it down to pan and roll it to zoom. And then, if you start drawing, of course, we're going to see our coordinates. At the moment, we've just got that marker there, so we know where 0, 0 is, using X and Y coordinates. And so then you can see that the first step that you need to use to draw a square, and I might just bring up the instructions again so you can see it. Well, actually, it says to save the file first, so we better do that and make some layers. But then once you've done those things, then this square up here, I think, is going to be the first thing that you'll draw. And it might tell you to draw a line first down here. It says to draw 1 metre line, but we'll get to that in a minute. But again, step 2, save the file, and then we'll get to make some layers. Okay, so now that we've started our new file, then you can go to the main menu, Save As. And whenever you get a menu like this, and it gives you options on this little thing that flies out, it doesn't mean that you have to choose one of those options. If you've got the little line there dividing that button between where it says Save As and that arrow there, that means that you can click where it says Save As. So if you're not sure, you don't always have to choose an option. The one to choose would be drawing, but if you choose any of those other options, it'll cause a problem. So the best option is to actually just click where it says Save As. And that's going to save it as a DWG file. So the file that we just used was a DWT file. That's a template file. And it's really important that you don't save with that format. It has to be DWG. That's your drawing format. And then you also need to know where you're saving. So at the top, it's got the option to save in. And I'm going to browse there and go to one of my folders. And you can see I can browse through. I've got a lot of folders there. You won't have access to that drive, so I'm going to go to a drive that you can access, and that's the Student Share PC drive, or the V drive. And then, well, actually, did you make a folder on Monday on that drive?
No, we were told to save on
Oh.
our
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you straight away, never do that. Okay, that's really wrong. I'm going to have to talk to James. Do not save directly onto your memory sticks. That's really bad practice. You're asking to lose work. I know that's something a lot of people do. Yeah, don't save directly to your memory sticks, because if something gets corrupt or there's an issue with the memory stick, you're going to lose all of the work that you're doing. And same with external hard drives, yeah. You should never save directly to external devices generally. It's just bad practice. So the best practice is to save onto a physical drive, onto a network drive or to a drive in your computer, and then copy that whole folder onto your backup device, onto your external drive or your USB drive. Yeah, that's best practice. Yeah, you've got to back up onto your memory stick, but yeah, it causes lots of problems, especially later on when you start doing more complex things. If you're saving directly onto your memory stick, it causes lots of problems. So, yeah, it causes all sorts of problems. When we see errors, it's often the cause when people are saving directly there. Yeah. So I'm going to make a folder for you. So, what? Oh, you're kidding. They've made it read only. You're kidding. Okay, so normally you can make fold. This is ridiculous. Let's just see. Can I make a folder here? No. Okay, so I'll have to talk to IT. They've done something silly here. Yeah, well, no, you won't be able to save onto this drive or do anything. They've made it read only, but we'll fix that. And so what I'll tell you to do now is save onto your own hard drive. So in your computer, you'll always have a hard drive. So to get to that, just click on the Documents shortcut on the left, and then just make your own folder there. And that's a good thing to know. So if you ever can't get to the network drives, you can always just save onto your own local Documents folder, and then back up everything onto your memory stick afterwards. But yeah, it is always good practice on any computer to be working off a physical hard drive that's connected via the SATA or the IDE's interface rather than anything that goes through USB. Okay, so I'm making a folder. If you missed how I did that, I've just right-clicked in the blank space after going to Documents, of course. Right-click, go to New, Folder, and then put my name, and then file name. So we're going to call it Exercise 1. There we go. Okay, so then before we draw the first shape, we've got to make some layers. So that's fairly straightforward. You'll see on the Home tab, there's a big Layer Properties button. And then in there, the New Layer button is that first button in the group of 4 buttons there you can see above the name. You've got that button with a little asterisk on the Layers icon. Click that to make a new layer. We'll just leave it as Layer 1. And set the colour to red, is it? And, oh no, white, so I can't read you in the dark. Let's put it back there. Yeah, white for Layer 1, blue for Layer 2, red for Layer 3. So I'm just going to keep clicking to make my 3 new layers, and then I'll come over and change the colours afterwards. So I'll leave Layer 1 as white, and then click on the colour for Layer 2, change that to blue. And now when you get this colour picker, you've got all the colours up the top. You've got 256 colours there. Don't worry, you've got the full colour range if you go to True Colour, but we don't need that. We're just going to use index colours. And so they're all the extra colours, but your basic colours are down the bottom. And they are all taken from primaries. That's why they're basic colours. So red, red, green, blue, of course your additive primaries, and then yellow, cyan, magenta are your subtractive primaries. And I know a lot of you are probably used to using red, yellow, blue, which is the old-fashioned primaries, but we'll go into primary colours a bit more later as well. But, of course, they're your basic colours. So blue, of course, we can choose from there, and you can see it's colour number 5, and you'll get used to these numbers. So 1 is red, 2 is blue, and so on. But then, of course, when you click on colour number 5 there, you can see the name does come up down below, telling you it's blue. These, of course, are all different blues, but they're not called blue. So this is true blue down the bottom. Make sure you get that one. And then layer 3, of course, red, and that is colour number 1 down there. And so then we want to be drawing on layer 1, pretty sure. I don't think it tells you... Oh yes, so we're going to be drawing in layer 2, sorry. Again, I didn't like this one. So we'll set that in a minute, but before we do that, we've also got to load this extra line type called dashed. So to do that, you can do it from here, and you'll see me doing it from here later on, more often than the one I'm going to show you, but I'll do it the way it says to in the notes, which is to go to the Properties palette. So you'll see in here it says, in the Properties palette, select line types. But that's not labelled, so you just need to remember that the Properties palette is this bit up here, where it says Properties, and then the line types is the one with the line types next to it. The one above, they're not actually line types, they're line weights for different thicknesses, but the one with the different dashed and other lines, that's your line types. Click on that. We don't have any loaded yet, so they're all just continuous, but if you click on Other, then you get the chance to load by clicking Load there, and you only need to load dashed, so you can just go down and find that. And that's it. Click OK. Now, still in that layers list, we can assign that when we need it. I don't think we need to assign it yet. Oh, yes, so it does say so. Again, this is not the way I normally do it, but yeah, so again, change layer 2 to have a dashed line. So to do that, so find layer 2, and the line type option is this one here, where it says continuous. Right, that's what it's set to. Click there, and we can just use dash. Yeah, it's that easy. Yep. Yeah, normally that's what you do. I don't know why you would do it this way. Well, yeah, possibly. Well, someone else wrote these notes. But look, it's okay. It's a pretty good little exercise, but again, it's not maybe the quickest way. So it's good to know. There's lots of different ways of doing things in AutoCAD, though, which is good. Yeah, that's right. That's one of the best things with AutoCAD. There are so many different ways, and different people have different preferences. So then, the other thing we've got to do, and this is something I did add in myself, we want to be able to see the line weights as we're drawing them. So to do that, I'm just going to close the layer properties manager, and then down the bottom right, you'll see you've got this thing that's called a status bar with all these different things that are called toggles. Yeah. So toggles are an on-off switch. So the ones there that are blue, they're on, and you click on them to turn them off and on again. So it might seem like there are a lot of different options there, but that's actually not the full list. So we need one that's not there. So you've got to click on the 3 lines in the bottom right to customise it. And then you can turn on line weights. So you've got to tick line weights, go back to that to hide it again, and then you can see now there's an extra button, that one that looks like it's got different line weights. Click on that, and then you can see the line weights as you're drawing them. Okay, so then we're ready to start drawing, except we've got to set the layer that we're going to draw on, but we'll do that in a second. So we've done that, and then now we're up to this step here where you start drawing. So, oh no, sorry, I skipped the line weights. So the line weights for layer 1, 0.35. So go again back to layer properties. So for layer 1, the line weight over here, once you click on that, you can choose 0.35. The next one, layer 2 is 0.25 and layer 3.1. Okay, so layer 2, 0.25. And have you seen these sorts of line weights before?
We did it on Monday.
Oh, you did, yeah, but in other things that you've used?
Yeah, on Word and all that.
Or what about in like pens, art lines? Yeah, yep, so they're the same line weights. So on art lines and the old technical pens, these are the same line weights you use. So that should do. So that should be it. That's my layers set up. And then the very final thing before drawing this 1 metre long line is to turn on polar tracking. So, which one's polar tracking? Do you remember? Yep. So when you hover over those buttons, it will bring up the name. So you can see there that it's this one here with the circle with the little angle on it. That's polar tracking, so you need to make sure that's on. And the other one is object snap tracking, which should be on already. And I thought I did put in steps to turn that on, but maybe it got taken out. Anyhow, so the other one that I'll just point out is this one here, object snap. So make sure that's on as well. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my first line, just clicking on the line button. Oh, no, sorry, we've got to set the layer. Did it say that in the notes? Oh yeah, set layer 1 to be current, so I'll skip that step. Okay, so how do we do that? I'll show you two different ways. In the layer properties, you can select the layer and then click on the button there at the end of that group of 4, the one with the tick. That sets it to be current. You can see the tick's next to layer 1 now. But I'll set layer 0. You can see another way is just to double click on that icon next to your layer. That sets it to be current. There's a much quicker way though. If you don't have that layer properties open, you can always just choose that from the list. That comes up there. And that sets layer 1 to be current just the same. So now, again, I'll start drawing my line. So clicking on the line button now on the home tab. And then you can see these coordinates come up. So they're X and Y coordinates. We don't really know where we need to draw for now, so anywhere pretty much will be okay, as long as it's maybe to the right and above that XY origin. So I'm just going to click a point up there somewhere, and then you can see that it snaps to the angles, and that's because the pole is turned off. So we've got to make sure that it goes 0 degrees, gives us a straight line going horizontally to the right, move it in the direction you want it to go, and then type 1000. Press enter, and then enter again. So the first enter enters that distance that you've typed, and then pressing enter again without typing anything completes the command. And that's the process you want to get used to. You can see down on the bottom it says type a command, so it's ready for a new command because I pressed enter. So I can click on the line button, and now I'll draw a square. So I'm going to just click on point again, but anywhere below that line's fine. Take it to the right, again, just the same, and make sure it's snapping to 0 degrees. Type in 1000, enter. So now I want to go down, and again I want to make sure it snaps to an exact angle, this time 90 degrees down, which is also 270 degrees, measured clockwise. Okay, so as long as, oops, sorry, not 270, so we're going 1000 again. And now back to the left. Again, snapping, making sure that the angle snaps to that, that tracking line is what it's called. And again, 1000, enter. And then to go back to the beginning, we can always move the cursor and make it snap to that angle, which is in this case 90. But I'll tell you the shortcut. You can type C and then enter to close it, and that'll just take it back to the first point. So maybe I'll just stop there and give you a chance to try that, and then we can continue on.